So we are all here united and reunited to talk about sustainability and truly the solutions to what the world is giving to us and all the transformation and changes that are happening. You are so many. Let's try and have, all of you talking. Are you hearing me good? Yeah. Talking for the time that you both need. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard about your path, all of your path. So different, but so much in common. You all want to make the difference in the world, in your own way. Having the recognition of organizations or your peers, etc. But you all have a path. Do you really think that this kind of conferences, bringing the change makers together, can truly find the solutions to what we need in the world? Who wants to start? Ladies? There are a lot of ladies. Maybe yes. Sandra.
Okay. So I thank you for the invitation, and I believe the leaders, they can make the change, not only the leaders, but everyone. I believe that when we are leader of something, we have the duty to do something different. And for sustainability, all of us, we need to create products, we need to create services, and we need to change mindsets of the people. Not only the leaders, but also all of the teams who work with the leaders. Yes. Because the leaders, they alone, they don't do too much, only with the team. So I believe not only us, but all of us together in our professional life and personal life, we are the leaders of our life.
So you think you all have, you and us, we all have the responsibility of having that path, of having that kind of way of seeing the world. Luisa, is that the way to make the world a sustainable place?
Well, to make the world a sustainable place, we need everyone, and not only individually, collectively, because it's very important that we act like a community, and we have to create the conditions. Sometimes it's very difficult that each one by itself make the difference, but if we are all together and if we create a sense of community, it's much easier to create the conditions to change. Yes. And I think sustainability, when you think on sustainability, we have to think on lifestyles. And it's very interesting because women have in hands, well, we have here...
Also men, of course.
But it's true, we can see that in our research, in our studies, that women have in hands one of the most decisive function for the effectiveness of sustainability projects linked with, for instance, household consumption and whether food, clothing, decoration, and it's so their role is especially important. At the same time, they are what we can say the victims of the advertising. If we look at advertising, we see even in every country, in developing countries and everywhere, women and youth are always a target for advertising. So we live in a contradiction sometimes that it's very important to solve and to get to a more sustainable model. And this brings the lifestyles and our relationship to consumption. It's very important to make it a difference. And new examples.
Yes. Can you please tell me, do you agree in this perspective of Luisa that we are still... we have still to struggle a lot in what concerns the place of women in society, besides the idea that women have, and men of course, of changing and really making it happen. But then we have the society and the publicity and the influencers in the marketing, that it's truly in contradiction to what the changing needs.
I think our generation, both women and men, we are facing a convergence of multiple crises. And there is this international consensus that says that the same mindset that has created this convergence It's not one crisis. It's not just consumption. It's a convergence of crises. Cannot solve it. It's something that ISIS said way back. So I think what is all in common here, at least the two voices before, I think we can project for the future what's going to happen with consumption, with climate change, or with the financial systems. We can do all these projections, and we can synthesize all the projections in two scenarios, I think. Transition is going to happen. Either we're going to design it, or we're going to be victims of it. Mm-hmm. And we are all here because we are designers of transition. Yes. I'm not so interested in talking about solutions. I think I'm much more interested in talking what are the principles that should inform the design for the transition.
What are they? Tell me one.
So, I'll tell you, I think there's one that is really very close to my heart, which is serendipity. Serendipity is making something valuable of a normal event. And it's like the only way serendipity thrives through attention. So sometimes you wake up in the morning. I'm a daughter of a farmer, so I learned very early in my journey that whatever you put attention grows. So when I wake up in the morning, where I'm going to put attention as I go along, that may flourish, may have some more prosperity. So one of the principles is to be attentive as we position ourselves in the flow of life, because the innovation, the unexpected, may have a clue that you didn't articulate with your mind for you to continue progressing the design for transition. So serendipity, paying attention to the detail.
Be present.
Being present without being...
It's different from being, eh?
Yes.
Because being present is something that it's so much talked about, you know. We truly need to feel the energy and to be at the moment. It's not only about designing the world, it's about feeling how can you do your part. Yeah. So you told one principle, Rui. So you are a musician, you are a professor, you created and founded Live with Earth. Yeah. So serendipity, or you could add some more principle also for us to do this transition, living in this Earth.
I would say transparency, or showing what you are.
Authenticity?
Authenticity, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to understand who you are, what can you bring to this world, what is your role, or what is your piece of the puzzle in the new world we want to create, mm-hmm. and adapt to it, adapt to what we have, and because when we are authentic or what we are, we can inspire others, we can create more beautiful things, mm-hmm. And we are more free, and we are here to be free also, to free ourselves, especially from this system, current system that we are still not so free. We don't have our own energy, we cannot consume our own water from the rain, the sun belongs to someone or some government, so being ourselves is a way for freedom to our own beings and to our communities. If everyone...
I think it deserves an applause, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
All of you deserve applauses, of course, but what are we if we are not free? Where are we living if we are not free in the path that we are making? Yeah? Is it true that for this transition transparency. It's also very important. But isn't it true that we also need to give education to the minors, to the children, to have that? It's where it all starts, isn't it? That transition, that idea of the future, it starts in the babies. It starts in the children. Do you think that can be a way of changing for a sustainable world?
Yes, of course. I think that together with education, what is also very important, being part of or being change makers, is to change ourselves first. Because I think sometimes there may be a difference between the ideals that we want to make happen, but if we don't do first also the process within each one of us, it may be much more difficult. So first, I think it's important to do the process within, and then to download the new references. We have got lots of new references, like Ken Wilber, like Charles Eisenstein, Rupert Sheldrake, all those references. They are not part of, like, for instance, where I work at universities, they are not yet the references. So it is difficult to make the change if we have the old references still going on. So I think it is connected to both. So to do the change inside of each one of us that wants or is a change maker on one side, and on the other side to prepare a ground for new systems with new references.
And prepare a new generation.
Yes.
That's what you are also doing in your path as a professor.
Yes.
Is it being difficult? Because I think the regular system that we have in Portugal, I have also a baby with 2 years, so I think that sometimes we want truly for the institutions and systems to get along with the changing that it's happening in the world, but they aren't. So that's the contradiction. Are you feeling difficulties in doing your part of the game?
Yes, there were lots of difficulties. I've been working on this change for 28 years, and it has been difficult. But right now, as the word is change all over. I think nobody or everybody knows that the key word is certainly change. So the universities also start to look towards some kind of change, but there are more traditional universities, and there are some pioneering universities, places like Ubiquity University or Schumacher College. They are already also new references.
Already there, yeah.
Yes. So it is not easy, but I guess that the time is calling for change, and now it starts to get a bit easier, I think.
The time is calling for change. Yeah. Let's applaud for that. Sandra, tell me your perspective. One more principle, please.
Well, I'm not a very theoretical person. I'm more practical.
Yes, me too.
I think, and I feel a little bit small.
Can you please put the micro a little bit closer?
I feel a bit small within this, all these important people saying important things. I'm a very simple person.
Yes.
I think my contribute or saying something that will help is my work, my way of living. Mm-hmm. I believe in Origami is a company that I now, it's a team of architects, engineers, and we also have the constructions team that will build our projects. My principles are doing the best we can and trying to transmit an idea that if we give our best things will happen. As we are in Angola too, we develop a project there. I've never been there. Other colleague of mine that has created Origami is there. He suffers with the reality. And he said, we have to make something to help. How can we, in tomorrow, team of architects, engineers, and designers make a difference? Well, we had an idea. We thought of Mama Winnie, that means mother-son. And we help by making pro bono projects with simple materials, with simple ways of doing things that will help to build a school, water fountainary, smaller things that make a big difference to other people.
Yes. You started by saying that you didn't have anything to add. Can you imagine? No, you're doing, yes, you can applaud, of course. It's a very, I'm just going to ask you please to speak so that we have time for everyone to speak about the projects. So you have this project, so you also believe that architecture and this kind of projects can truly make the difference.
Yes, I think in two scales. In a small scale, practical scale, reorganizing someone's home to make it better, to make it practical, to live with their family. Because in our home we create memories. So if we can improve it, yes, people will live better. And in the greater scale, that it's only now an idea, an intention with Mama Winnie, but with our thinking, with our believing, I think someday will be something big.
Yes, and it will be. It will be. Thank you so much. Leyla, your work, it's also very recognized. When you started, was it your purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a designer and a sociologist, and I wanted to become a designer because I wanted a job that wasn't boring. And I wanted to solve problems. And then I discovered that design is basically one of the most powerful and influential forces that humans have created. And I myself felt extremely small by the challenge that one small person in the world would have with the power to form materials into usable goods that impacted the entire economy and impacted people's lives. So of course I did what any rational 21-year-old would do. I quit design school and then went to sociology school, majoring in sustainability because I realized I didn't know how humans worked, and I still, like 15 years later, don't know how humans work. We're very complicated. I'm a bit more wiser to that fact, but and also about how the planet worked. How does the environment work, and how do I participate in it? And what kind of change can I make in the world as one individual with limited resources and power, and with also the passion or commitment to see the world work better for all of us. So yes, that was kind of an accidental path that I fell into, and the work that I've done over the last 15 years to help kind of bring about change has really been about trying to create the tools that support other people in agentizing themselves for change, because the only thing that is certain in life is that it is changing, and that we're all changing within it, and that we have the capacity, believe it or not, contrary to what much of the media and advertising and politicians say, believe it or not, we all have the power to make a difference in the world. I refer to this as our sphere of influence. You know, when you're a kid, it's pretty small. You just can influence your parents and your siblings and maybe your friends at school. But as you get older and you gain more knowledge or skills, some people gain a lot of money, other people just gain peer influence, you expand your ability to affect change. Different units of change, right? So money is one unit of change. Influence over others, political power, intelligence, also just loudness. Yes. Which is one power that I have. I'm very loud. But right now we have this fascinating thing happening where everyday people are becoming huge influencers of their peers, of strangers, whether it be through social media or whether it be through people ranting about conspiracy theories on the internet. Ultimately, we have really changed the way people access power or distribute it. And we forget that we are all part of that, and we have the power to influence and affect more positive change through the things that we do and the actions that we take, because they are contagious. The one thing I've learned about humans is we're social animals. We follow those around us, whether we like it or not. We think we're independent, but ultimately we follow social cues. The more people who are taking simple actions in their day-to-day life, such as normalizing the lower consumption of meat-based proteins, one of the quickest and easiest way to achieve sustainability and reduce carbon emissions is to swap out meat-based proteins. Even in a country like Portugal, a large percentage of the meat that you would eat would be produced in factory farms, which is not only hugely environmentally damaging, but ethically a huge moral stain as we enslave animals for our own benefit. But ultimately,
we're doing our best, Leyla.
Those things really have impact. The more we normalize new behaviors, the more we enable those behaviors to filter throughout the world. And that's really how we've gotten to this point in time. is through many people choosing to do things differently. And so we can continue to design the future through designing our own lives and the things that we engage with, the things we invest in, and the type of conversations we have with those around us.
That's why thank you so much. Big applause to Leyla, a natural communicator. Sandra, do you feel that in the transformation in your life and the success that you had in Pelcor, the company, being all around the world, seeing the world, and now being in another path, is it your way of taking people to really make the change? Did you have to feel the change in yourself first, so that now you can do that kind of growing?
Okay, so first I had to change a sustainable material like cork from the cork trees and the products. And now, after that, I understand it in my path that I need to change people and not products. Yes. Because
but you had to do the
I reeducated myself across all over the world, because I had my business in United States, in China, in Europe, in Portugal. And I took cork away all over the world. I created the first brand in fashion accessories in cork, made out of cork skin. So I conquer everything with cork. But I believe and I felt that I didn't conquer anything. Because for me, and to change, and that's why I changed my past and my life, I understood that to change the world, I need to change people. And I began with me. I remember when I had my meetings in China and New York, because my life was waking in China, coming to sleep in Lisbon, and the next day to have lunch in New York. So it was a crazy life. Yeah. I didn't have jet lag.
Yes.
So for me to have my balance, I need to work with me and to meditate every day and to be focused on me and awake every morning and say what I go to do today, it's change myself. After that, you can change the world. So
yes.
I believe that sustainability comes inside. First, you must be sustainable for yourself. And after that, you can change the world, not alone, yes, but all together in one.
Yes. Luisa, as a sociologist, yes, you can applaud, of course. We are inspired people. Luisa, as a sociologist, I think I'm also a sociologist, so I'm very, yes, besides communication, so I'm...
3 sociologists.
Wow.
4 sociologists.
4, yes. And I'm truly passionate and truly contagious by the way the world and people are, they get along in the same way of thinking. So this changing subject that we have been living and hearing for so many years. But when is it going to give the click to the politicians, to the real power, to really make the difference? Because let's go to the himself, to the exterior, okay? To find some solutions to all the audience that is here.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a sociologist, I work in research and I work in education. Mm-hmm. But I think education, as you have already said, it's crucial, because without her, with her, it's a basic way to do things. You can't do everything with education, but you can't do nothing without education. That's why it's so crucial everywhere in the world. Then I work in information, because I work in the media. My intervention as journalist, it's important because it's the way to spread and to get to the word. So information is crucial. Communication, it's very, very important. We all know we have Leyla, that's a very good communicator, and so on. But we have to deal with something. That's why my insistence on community, because we have this global crisis, environmental global crisis, changing everything. But one thing that it's crucial to change is human will. And human will, it's very difficult to change. I don't think it's easy. I think it's important that it begins by each one of us, But we have to find out ways to get to the communities. That's why, for instance, this new movement of the youth, the students, the strike of the students with the networks, it's very important because it becomes a sense of community. And sometimes people are not thinking about an issue, but they start thinking, you see. That's why I think the movements are very important. You can't do alone by yourself. It's very important, but you need community, you need movement, you need communication, you need strong science too, when we're talking about environmental issues and this consumption world where we live. So that's the way to get to the politicians. It's very difficult, but it's the way. If you pressure the public opinion pressure the politicians. And with this new movement of the youth, it's very exciting. And at the same time, it's not a surprise because young people, they are much more well prepared than older people. We know that, at least in Portugal, young people, we can see that in the surveys we make, they are much more sensitive, they know much more about these issues, they are much more aware. So we have now a strong and a big opportunity with this movement because we know that politicians are very sensitive to the new voters.
Yes.
So
the new opinion makers.
New opinion makers and the new voters, the ones that in 2 years they will vote. Yes. So it's very important that we profit from this strong movement of the youth.
Yes, and for talking about inspiration, May, and talking about sustainability leaders, we also saw recently that the climate parade that young people also did here in Portugal recently in front of Assembleia da República in Belém, in Lisbon. It started with a young girl in Sweden. She's now, 11? 16. Imagine, but when she started alone, because she has dyslexia, she's Asperger. She has Asperger, yes. And when she started this alone, she was really committed to changing the world, and it started like that. So it's like a little point when it all starts, and then it invades the community, and it happened here also in Portugal. So sustainable leaders are growing, are being born. We have a new generation of lightning people, isn't it? Do you agree, right?
Yes, I think in this transition that we are designing, we have different roles. Some of us in different states of preparedness for change. Some are quicker to change or readier to change, and some are slower to change. Mm-hmm. But we can synthesize or summarize the roles as some of us like are nurses of a dying system. Yes. Some of us are like the midwives of a new system. And many of us are edge workers. We are in the edge. Some of us think that, there's still the good, the beautiful, and the truth in the obsolete world. What is this obsolete world? It's the one that imagines that prosperity, health, and happiness is through the speed through which we extract, produce, consume, and dump in a linear way. Mm-hmm. That's the paradigm that informs the dying world. But there's still people, institutions, the way we bank, the way many of the institutions are still embedded in this obsolete world. And some of us are already, charting the way to what is going to become. And many are in the edge. So when you ask about politicians, you have politicians that are edge workers. You have politicians that are very much in the obsolete world that is dying. You have some glimpses of some, at least in Britain, we have Caroline Lucas. We have one or two that you can see they are already with their feet in the new world. But yes, well, you can't see in the whole, you can't. But depending where you're going to pay attention as well, what you're going to reinforce. So I would say that if we look at the natural systems, when savanna meets forest, you have this buffer zone that we call ecotone. Ecotone comes from Greek, ecology's tone is tension, ecology is intention. You have the species of the forest, the species of the savanna, and you create the conditions, you mentioned, create the conditions where new species come. So when you're designing for ecological systems to thrive, you say maximize the edges, make the edges richer. And I have coined the concept of social tone, which is society's intention. And we edge workers, I mean, some of us here, I localize you, you're very much pioneers. And some of us are more edge workers. I am edge worker by design. I think I serve better the system, and I serve, I mean, although I lived in Finhorn and Eco Village for 18 years, I was walking the talk, building, my own house, eating my food, generating my energy. I still feel that I serve better the transition if I position myself consciously in the edge, because the edge, and maximizing the edges of society. And these young people, they are edge workers. They're amazing edge workers right now. And I guess all those, I mean, the work that the Women's Economic, this gathering here, it is a typical edge event. Because these are women for women and women with men as well. So it's like, that's why I felt called to come here.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to hear. Yes, you can applaud. Leyla, yes. And tell me a little bit more about your project that you founded, the disruptive method.
I'll tell you about that in a sec, but I plus one on everything you just said. And I just want to add to that, I think that the youth movement that we're seeing right now is extremely inspiring, but also we should all, as adults, take a long, hard look at ourselves as a result of this, because it's a show of deficit, of massive deficit on our part, of not actually being able to create the conditions where young people can continue to be young people and feel comfortable about their future. Because why would one young woman sit in the steps of the Swedish parliament demanding action on climate change? Because no political leaders are doing it. And I think that we are the representatives of our political leaders, even if we don't like them. And I think it really is important to remember that as adults, we have a lot of the power to make the decisions through the people not only we vote for, but the products we buy, the things we say, and the lessons that we teach ourselves as much as our children. And so I think, well, whilst maybe those of us in this room are not those that need that lesson to be taught to them, we all know someone who probably could do with a lesson on what it means when our kids are taking to the streets to demand that their future is not the byproduct of our inaction as adults today.
It's the responsibility, yeah?
Sure. Also, I mean... yeah. If the kids have to solve the problems, we're all screwed.
Wrong, yeah. If the kids have to solve.
I mean, they're pretty smart these days, I got to say. But so, with regards to my project, so I run a school called the Unschool of Disruptive Design, where we teach adults how to mess with the system for positive change. We teach systems thinking, sustainability sciences, and design as the pillars for the tool set that anyone, no matter who you are, wherever you are in the world, can use to affect change to disrupt the status quo of a system, right? So every system is in its status quo or homeostasis state, and if you have particular agency, you can figure out how to design interventions that affect a different outcome, which is what we need, right? Socrates said, if you want to change a system, don't invest your energy in fighting the existing system, design something that makes the old obsolete. And so that's kind of the philosophy or approach that we take, and we have programs all over the world. We have over 500 alumni from our face-to-face programs from 42 countries. Our last program was in South Africa, right in the middle of the drought that happened there. Before that, it was in Mumbai. We've run programs all over the world, and we have an online school with over 8,000 people from, again, every corner of the globe who are interested in systems change. I teach the disruptive design method, which is a tool for understanding how to think in complex systems, because most of us have been taught to think in a linear and reductive and one-dimensional way. And so the disruptive design method is a scaffolding, just like you would need to build a building. It gives you a mental tool set to understand how to deeply explore a problem. So the first phase is mining, literally going and finding the pieces. And in that phase, we suspend the need to solve, because most of us have been conditioned to want to solve a problem before we deeply understand it. And then landscaping, it's where we take a bird's eye view, where we put the pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle that was mentioned earlier, so that we have that perspective shift on what the problem is and our role within it. And then the final phase is the building, where once you've done the landscaping, you can identify a point of intervention and then start to build something from that. And this tool is a really simple tool to enable any individual to think more dynamically and holistically about the problems that exist in their life or the world around them, and how they can exert their agency to affect change within it. And then, so I most recently have a farm here in Serra, Tomar, called the Co-Project. You're welcome to come and visit it tomorrow after the WEF finishes if you want. It's a 150-year-old olive farm that was abandoned, that I took on as a project to personally learn how nature solves problems, so that I can bring that not into my own work, but also into the work that I do with shepherding, or now I've got this new term of midwifing. I'm a doula, change doula. Shepherding in change in many levels. I work with many different levels of society, governments, individuals, kids. They're my favorite, obviously, because they're all like butterflies, whereas adults are all like, ugh, money, I need it. Anyway, so to help kind of reconfigure the way we see the world and our role within it, and so we can design systems and services that are more sustainable and really do disrupt the status quo, because the mess we're in was designed 70 years ago, right? Like GDP-based economic growth totally came about by accident after the Second World War. And this is a complete mess of a system that essentially values goods and services in an economy over the natural systems and services that sustain life on Earth. And that is a fundamental flaw of our entire economy. So, yeah, anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Leyla. Yes. Rui, tell us a little bit more about your own foundation, please. Your Live with Earth organization, yeah?
I have a dream, as every one of us here, and all together can achieve it. Live with Earth means that we can create local examples for global change, working with the earth element mainly to build, for example, as clay, or to produce soil, composting. Organic matter, so we can plant and have our food. And also, because I'm a designer and artist, I like also to color. So now we are working with natural pigments, which is earth also. For children, education, and to start transforming products also. Create natural inks, natural plasterings, and natural building. So we are focused on the element Earth to change the planet Earth with the local Earth, to inspire people with replicable models that can be implemented in other parts of the planet.
And the Earth needs it, yeah? Very, very much.
What?
The Earth needs it very much.
The Earth needs it urgent. We act in 4 pillars mainly, which I found in these years of working that are really important. The first is awareness, because we're not going to change nothing if we are not aware of it. And many people doesn't care or doesn't have the information of this urgency that we are talking here.
Yes.
The second one is empowerment. So I first learned myself, how can I build, how can I plant, and I'm still learning whole life. But passing this knowledge to create empowerment on the people for self-sustain themselves. They can build their homes, they can plant their fields, they can compost their organic matter, and this is a ripple effect, because people will teach each other this kind of living, sustainable living. The third one is convergence, which is really, really important. We try to organize events and festivals to converge people, as what is happening here. This is a acceleration on time, this event, for example, because these connections and these meetings of people can bring many possibilities, and the possibilities go through what is needed to do, I believe. And the fourth one is innovation. because we want to create better things. We build prototypes, we test them, we observe them, and with time we see if they are good or not, and we try to improve the solutions. Also with technologies. Part of my mission is to join together all the solutions existing with ancient knowledge and with modern technology.
Yes,
so
combining
for the future.
The past, the present, and the future.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we cannot go much further. We have to take a few steps back and see what is too much on this society. Too much information, too much objects, too much materials. We have everything created.
Too much waste.
Too much waste.
Stupidity, yes.
And waste is a resource also. We can build many things with waste. For me, so this is what Live with Earth do, and much more. We are discovering and joining people to create these models and to spread them, and creating opportunities also for youngsters, adults, any kind of people. And I found, just to conclude, there are two main things urgent in this world. One is the resource management, because many people have too much and many people have nothing. And there are resources for all.
It's a crucial difference, yes. Isn't it? The extremes.
Yeah. And the other is the organization of success communities. Because if you organize ourselves in the local productive models, with the local resources, we can really create a real society, and not this utopian society that we consume things from other parts of the world. It's kind of an illusion that we are living. So the real is what we have here right now on the local scale.
Yes. Thank you so much.
If we produce it, we can live in abundance.
And we can spread the word. Sandra, please. That's what you are also doing, this Sandra, because I would be all day talking to you all. But you know, time passes so quickly. Did you know that 50 minutes passed like this, wasn't it? I would be here all day. But Sandra, your project, you also are making the difference. Was it difficult also for you to find the right people to be with you in your project?
Yes.
Because you all have to breathe the same sustainability.
And it's the main, it's the main important, it's important thing. The people that are with us, thinking with us and helping. We have to be in the same path, wanting the same thing and believing. I think the most important thing is believing, because sometimes it's very difficult. Normally day problems can take our focus.
Yes.
I think if we believe with your heart in what you're doing, you will never quit.
Yes. It will be worth it, yes? Just to finish, my change makers, one word that truly, it's important for you. It's like a purpose, and it's one word that defines the future for us to achieve what we want in sustainability world. Leyla or Sandra? One word.
Together.
Together.
I would say resilience.
Resilience.
Edgework, 2 words.
Is that work?
Social participation.
2 words also.
Awareness.
Awareness.
Empowering next generations.
3 words.
And altruism.
Thank you so much. Our truly change makers. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Hope you all have enjoyed.
Anna, I have a word as well.
You have?
Visionaries.
Yeah.
2 words. Radical visionaries.
Yes.